Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS report. It is, I don't even know what day it is, Wednesday, November the 29th, I believe. Welcome in. A little bit late, was getting the old haircut and went a little bit longer than I anticipated. So smash the like button for the new haircut. The hairline isn't what it once was, but still battling here. Really solid night last night, hoping we can keep everything rolling tonight. It's been a solid week here at the DFO DFS report so far. Hopefully we continue. I got a couple of screenshots last night or this morning, whatever, of some wins, some takedowns last night from DFO DFS charts users, some viewers of the show as well. So yeah, let's keep things rolling right along tonight. We've got a 3-game slate tonight. I want to say it's fairly obvious where I'm going to go. The spots are kind of glaring, and I don't know. To me, it feels like it's a difficult night for me to get super contrarian, but there's obviously some spots where we're going to talk about to find ways to do that on a 3-game slate. So let's start with the goalies. We've got Elvis Merzlikins starting for the Columbus Blue Jackets up against Sam Montembeault for the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know if there is a name more fun in the NHL to say than Sam Montembeault. It's just a great name. Igor Shesterkin gets the nod for the New York Rangers. Ville Husso for the Detroit Red Wings. The LA Kings will roll with Cam Talbot, most likely going to see Charlie Lindgren for the Washington Capitals. So pretty clear on who gets the nod. Main issue with last night's slate was all the late scratches. I loved Carolina 1, and it was going to be Svechnikov, Aho, and Jarvis, and then obviously you lost Svechnikov, and then I liked Edmonton 1. You lost Hyman. It was just a lot of just scrambling. Our guy Caden Korzak came through at the minimum price. I know a lot of people played him from using DFO DFS charts, which was great. So yeah, there's a lot to like on this slate, and we're gonna dive right into it right now. So smash the like button, smash the subscribe button so you never miss a show, and obviously hitting the like button helps the show grow. So if you want to see this show day in and day out, smash the like button if you could. The Blue Jackets have an implied total of 3.5. Sportsbooks, the DFO implied total 3.3, a little bit closer according to myself, as it is to the sportsbooks. The Canadiens at 3.1 in the sportsbook, 3.2 on DFO. Overall, both these teams pretty poor. Defensively at 5v5 and pretty poor on the power play. Overall, the Blue Jackets have the second best 5v5 advantage on the slate, 14th best 5v5 offense. Their power play is a nightmare, 30th, but going up against a 29th ranked penalty kill does give them some potential. So certainly favoring the Blue Jackets in this game over the Montreal Canadiens. There is one Canadiens line that I like. We'll get into it here in a moment. So let's dive into the matchups. So for the Blue Jackets, the top line draws somewhat of a difficult assignment overall. 39.1 on the matchup score. Going to see a steady mix of the top 9. The second and third lines for the Blue Jackets look a little bit better in terms of matchups. Let's dive into the numbers. But first, some new look lines. Nothing's changing up top. Gaudreau, Jenner, and Kirill Marchenko. But Texier and Dmitry Voronkov switch spots here. Fantilli, Line and Texier. You got Voronkov with Sillinger and Chinikov on the third line now. In terms of overall numbers, the second line probably is the best one to target from the Blue Jackets tonight. In terms of kind of like a value perspective, offensive numbers are pretty similar to the top line. The offensive rank of 11th up against the 13th ranked offensive line for the top line. And then obviously the matchup's a little bit better. I would imagine that you're going to see pretty considerable ownership on the Blue Jackets top line. I think the second line should be a little bit lower owned in terms of price tag. Columbus 1 is 16,000 flat. Columbus 2, am I blind? Can't find them. There they are, 12,200 for them. So obviously a little bit of a discount. The only issue, I guess, and difference between the two, obviously, their numbers are similar. The reason you might ask, especially if you're new to the charts, new to the show, is why is Columbus 1 higher than Columbus 2 if Columbus 1 has slightly worse offensive numbers and a worse matchup. Well, the reason for that is the time on ice. The time on ice is still a factor. You still want the guys that are going to play the most, and they play about 29% of the Blue Jackets 5v5 ice time, where the rest of the ice time is kind of doled out pretty evenly. You'll see Columbus 4 kind of popping up here as well. Eric Robertson, Corrali, and Danforth, like their 5v5 numbers are pretty solid, but they don't have the offensive capabilities to really cash in on those opportunities, so I wouldn't get too excited about how high they're ranked. I would lean on Columbus 2 a lot more. So these numbers are solid. Fantilli's obviously been really, really good. Line A certainly due for a breakout at some point. Texier is a fine option as well. So at 12,200, they look like a pretty solid pivot spot if you're looking to play the Blue Jackets and don't want to soak up the ownership of Columbus 1. That being said, Gaudreau, 4,600 is way too cheap. Again, he's kind of starting to play a little bit better. Jenner's been on a heater basically to start the entire season. Marchenko is awesome. Terrific goal scorer at 5K. So at 16,000, I think that they're a pretty solid option tonight against a Montreal Canadiens team that isn't great defensively. The top line, the Suzuki line, is very good. The rest of the team, not very good defensively. So that's why this Jenner line matchup isn't the best. 30% of their ice time expected to come against that Suzuki line. So that's the only thing kind of hampering them tonight, as opposed to the second line that is going to avoid that Suzuki line that has a much better matchup. So I think both lines there are fine. As for the Canadiens, the top line going up against that Jenner line is the worst matchup overall on the Canadian side of things. The second line, going to see a good mix of that top 6. Their matchup isn't great, but they look like the line to target from Montreal. If you're not familiar with the Montreal Canadiens line combinations, that second line is Cole Caulfield, Christian Dvorak, and Uri Slafkovsky. They've been pretty good this year. 2.8 expected goals for per 60, 35 scoring, 13 scoring chances, high danger chances, They've been really solid. 4th best offensive line on the slate. Much, much better than that Nick Suzuki line. I've talked about it a bunch. This Nick Suzuki line is very, a very solid two-way line typically. And the offensive numbers usually spike when you've got Cole Caulfield on that line. When Caulfield is bumped from that line, the offensive numbers tend to struggle. So I'm much more interested in Montreal 2. They actually are expected to play a little bit more than the Suzuki line as well. So Montreal 2 is the side that I like here. Overall, they grade out 4th best overall, and the fact that they're just 13,400 is terrific. Slafkovsky really hasn't done much of anything to this point in his NHL career, so it's like you could probably leave him off, but on a 3-game slate, I think at 3,100, Slafkovsky's an okay play. Just 6 points in 21 games so far this season, 16 points in 60 games for the former number 1 overall pick. But at 3,100, I think he's worth taking a shot on. In terms, of the overall projection tonight, where would Slafkovsky fall? At 5.3 points. So at 3,100, he's not the worst play in terms of the overall points per dollar. He still looks okay. So as a stack, it's not the worst thing. Dvorak has been pretty quiet this year as well, but obviously a capable offensive player. And on a 3-game slate, I really don't have a whole lot of trouble going to this line tonight. In terms of ownership, I think that they're going to draw a little bit. It's not going to be anything insane, but I do like Montreal 2 a lot more than Montreal 1 in this game. From a power play perspective, both power plays are dog. Overall, though, the Blue Jackets look okay because the Canadiens are so bad on the kill. Not quite the same for the Canadiens because the Blue Jackets are somehow bad defensively, but really, really good on the kill. So, yeah, I like the Blue Jackets a lot more than I like the Canadiens tonight. I think the one thing as well is that Elvis Merzlikins is starting to find something here. He's been a lot better in his last handful of starts. And if he can keep that going, that is going to be massive for this Blue Jackets team. If he can stay rolling, that's going to make this team a lot more competitive. And he's been, just absolutely dynamite in his last 3 games. Really unfortunate to lose to the Carolina Hurricanes the other night. Had he held on to that win, it would have been 3 straight. Overall, in his last 3 starts, he's stopped 110 of 117 shots for a .940 save percentage. That's come against the Blackhawks, the Devils, and the Hurricanes. So 2 pretty good teams there. Absolutely love Merzlikins at 7,900. Probably going to face a little bit more shot volume than Shesterkin and Talbot as well. So Merzlikins is probably my favorite goalie on the slate. So I'm not going to get to a ton of Montreal tonight, I don't think. Because really, really like what Merzlikins offers if he can stay hot this evening. Second game, you've got the Red Wings and you've got the New York Rangers. I would have been all about the Red Wings as a Red Wings fan. Obviously, I watched this team more than any other team. and they're playing some of the best hockey of their season right now, if not the best. Without Dylan Larkin, though, things look pretty bleak. Patrick Kane also not expected to make his debut. It still seems hilarious to be talking about Patrick Kane in a Detroit Red Wings uniform, but here we are in 2023. So, yeah, this team, if you take a look overall, 5v5 offense hasn't been great, 27th. The power play is 11th. Going up against the 10th ranked penalty kill, not really a whole lot there. Then you factor in that the Rangers have been really solid 5v5 defensively this year. I just don't think I'm going to get to the Red Wings very much tonight because these offensive numbers are bad. You take Larkin out of the mix and it really shuffles their line up. And yeah, it's pretty bleak. I expect Kane to be just bad when he does play. I don't think he's going to be bad. But I said it yesterday. Like at his age, coming off a major hip resurfacing surgery, it's rough. No one comes back from the hip and is good. I don't know if it's necessarily true. I mean, it's different sport. Andy Murray looks great, but I think it's possible that Patrick Kane's fine. I don't like. I think for like the naive Red Wing fan, think he's going to come in and be like vintage Patrick Kane. That's just not going to be the case. But yeah, like he's still a great playmaker. He's a really cerebral player. I think he's going to help that power play for sure. And I think it's an addition that this Red Wings team needed. It needed an infusion of talent on the wing, and I think it's going to be helpful. And at the price tag, it's such a low risk move, especially for a team that's still going to have plenty of cap space. I think Cap Friendly said that they've got about $10 million in projected trade deadline cap space. So low risk move that I think will pay off. I don't think he's going to be a point per game player, but he's certainly going to help. But that's neither here nor there because he's not playing tonight. Love the Rangers tonight. This Red Wings team. The offensive numbers are very poor against a Rangers team that's pretty good defensively. The Red Wings do grade out pretty well defensively, given how bad the offensive numbers look. They've at least assembled a lineup that has been proven solid defensively. So this is kind of an interesting game. Where I really like the Rangers is where you always like the Rangers on the power play. The 5v5 play is never good. The power play is always solid. Adam Fox returns to the lineup tonight. That's obviously going to help the power play as well. Overall, the best power play advantage on the slate. So really, really like the Rangers tonight. In terms of the overall matchups, they look bleak. As I mentioned, the Red Wings grade out pretty well defensively, but I'm not really that concerned when that power play looks that good. It's going to be, they're going to get the job done on the power play tonight. The second line looks terrific. They've been playing well. I've been talking about New York too a lot. As bad as they are offensively at 5v5, this entire team, you've got the Rangers top line or second line, just absolutely humming at 5v5. So the rest of the team really weighing them down, at least at 5v5. And love New York too tonight. The offense numbers are just through the roof good. 3.4 expected goals for per 60, 37 scoring chances, 15 high danger. They've been dominant. Then the fact that they also play 32% of the Rangers 5v5 ice time is incredible. It's some of the highest you'll see in the NHL in these charts. And I absolutely love New York too tonight. They graded as the top line to target overall at 5v5, 18,700. Panarin's been on fire this year. Trocheck's always offered pretty solid shot volume. Lafreniere, shot volume's actually been really good this year as well. So they are probably my favorite line on the entire slate. I will agree with the charts wholeheartedly on this one. In terms of the raw projection, they also come out on top there. So really, really like what you get from New York 2 tonight. Obviously, you've got Trocheck and Panarin on that top power play unit as well. So even if they don't get the job done at 5v5 on the power play, they look really, really good. Obviously, New York 1 is going to be in play. The difference is they grade out really, really poorly at 5v5 because they just aren't that great. 8th best. They've been much better at 5v5 since Blake Wheeler replaced Capo Caco. So there's a little bit more 5v5 love for them there. The matchup, again, obviously not great. 27% of the 5v5 ice time is less than desirable when you're paying this kind of premium price at 17,900. So I prefer Panarin and Trocheck to Kreider and Zibanejad, but obviously Zibanejad has an absolute rocket from the point on that power play. Kreider, terrific net front presence, has played well lately as well. So Kreider and Zibanejad certainly still in play for me. If you're building 20 lineups, I would have a mix of both New York 1 and New York 2. Get some power play stacks in there. Looks like a really solid play tonight. If I'm only building one lineup and I had to choose between the two, I'm going to go with Panarin and Trocheck. And then obviously the value of Lafreniere is also pretty promising. For the Red Wings, the matchup looks okay. Given these lines, the Rangers are not grading out super well defensively. That being said, the overall on the season at 13th best defensively at 5v5 is interesting. Again, that includes save percentage, so they are getting bailed out a little bit by Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick, who's just turned the clock back. So I think that they're slightly gettable at 5v5. I think there's opportunities here for the Red Wings on a 3-game slate. Like, the Red Wings are probably going to see maybe the lowest ownership on the slate. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't envision them being super, super high owned. Let's take a look at the Red Wings power play without Larkin. So you got DeBrincat, Comfort, and Raymond on the top line, and then you got DeBrincat, Comfort, Raymond on the top power play unit as well. So if I'm playing the Red Wings tonight, I'm going to play that top line because they fully correlate on the top power play unit. If they're going to be like 10% or lower, I think they're an okay play. The matchup looks okay, 78.3. They're going to see a lot of that advantage ad line, which isn't great defensively. They're going to see a lot of the third line, which isn't very good defensively at all. So there is something here. The offensive numbers aren't great, but that being said, this sample isn't totally reliable either because we haven't seen these three play together because for the majority of the start of the season, it was DeBrincat, Larkin, and Raymond together. Then we saw DeBrincat move to the second line. Raymond was still with Larkin. So we haven't seen what this combination can do. I had to kind of hodgepodge a sample together. So I expect this line to play quite a bit tonight. They fully correlate the top power play unit. If I'm going to play Detroit, it's going to be Detroit 1 because the rest of these three lines just don't offer a whole lot. The second line, Jonathan Berggren moves into the lineup with Kopp and Fabry. We saw a lot of Berggren and Kopp last year. Wasn't great. Saw a lot of Kopp and Fabry last year. Wasn't great. So I'm down on Detroit 1 if they are going to be like sub 10% owned. I think that they're a fine play. On the power play for the Red Wings tonight, as I mentioned, they fully correlate on that top power play unit. The Red Wings have the third best power play advantage. I think it's going to struggle a little bit without Larkin, but it shouldn't be a huge, huge issue. He plays in the bumper role, which shouldn't have a huge impact on moving Comfort into that role. Shouldn't change things too much. Overall, the Rangers have been pretty solid on the kill, but the Red Wings doing a terrific job drawing penalties so far this season. So, really like Detroit 1. That's the only line that I would play from the Red Wings side of things. The third and final game here, LA and Washington. I talk about Washington all the time being terrible. I don't think outside of like Los Angeles and Los Angeles Kings fans specifically, I don't know if there was anybody higher on the Kings coming into the season than myself. Really liked what this team was doing. I've talked about them a ton. Unfortunately, the betting market's finally catching up to them because I've made an absolute fortune on the Kings early in the season because they've just dominated everybody basically, and the market didn't realize how good they were, and now they finally have. I think they were like, I don't even know. Let me look it up. Were they like minus 222 last time I checked? At least this morning. Minus 200 is the best price you can get right now on the Kings. So yeah, huge favorites tonight, and for good reason. They're the second best 5v5 offense, second best 5v5 defense. They've got the 10th best power play and the 7th ranked penalty kill, all inside the top 10. They've been unbelievable. Number one 5v5 advantage. Number one 5v5 advantage on the slate. Number two power play advantage. The Capitals, not good at 5v5. Haven't been good on the power play. They look brutal. The Capitals will be the team that I have the least exposure to this evening. They just are in a brutal matchup. I didn't even play them against the Sharks the other night, and it worked. So I'm certainly not firing up against the Kings tonight. I just don't think that this team has got any jam at all. The issue with the Kings, obviously, is always the same. It's hard to really pinpoint exactly who is going to dominate because they have 3-4 really good lines, and the scoring is usually pretty spread out. Tonight, I think it's fairly obvious. I'm probably going to stay away from LA3, focus on LA1 and LA2. LA1 specifically looks phenomenal tonight. Overall, they grade us the third best offensive line on the slate. Three scoring chances expected. 3 expected goals for per 60, 34 scoring chances, 13 high danger. And then they're going to see 57% of their matchup is expected to come against the Ovechkin line, which we talked about them when they were playing the Sharks tonight. These defensive numbers are horrendous. Awful. 4.4 expected goals against per 60, 38 scoring, 20 high danger. They have a 33.4% expected goals for share. Those are the grossest defensive numbers these charts have seen in a while. So that Kopitar line is going to go up head-to-head with them most of the night and should absolutely ravage them. The other portion of the time that Kopitar is not going head-to-head with them, it's going to be the Danault line. And the Danault line is the second best offensive line on the slate. They are also very good. Trevor Moore is on fire. Philip Danault is terrific. Kevin Fiala is a stud. There is a lot to like about both of these lines tonight. They are probably going to see considerable ownership. I would imagine LA1 sees more ownership. So LA2 is a nice pivot option if you're looking to play LA tonight. They're both going to see ownership. I think LA1s will be much higher. But yeah, matchup is still really good. 95.7 on the matchup score for LA2, 100, best overall for LA1. So love both those lines. Really like, this third line has been solid. I just don't have as much faith. Their matchup isn't quite as good. They're going to see a lot more of Washington 3, which is the best Washington line. So I think we can kind of rule LA3 out a little bit tonight if we're focusing. Do you like New York or LA more tonight? LA for sure. Without a doubt. Fiala or Kreider? Oh, that one's tough. Probably Kreider, just because of the power play. Who grades out the best? Probably Fiala, right? Fiala, and where's Kreider? No, Kreider grades out the best. I would agree with the projections. I would lean Kreider just because the power play exposure to the number one power play advantage on the slate. If I had to pick between the two in a vacuum, I'd go Kreider. But yeah, love LA 1 and 2 tonight. They both look just phenomenal. I mean, the implied total here at 2.5 for the Capitals almost seems generous. Because I just don't know how they get anything going. They couldn't get anything going against the Sharks. I just don't see how it happens. The matchups are horrendous. Their 5v5 numbers are horrendous. On a small slate, I was okay firing up a little bit of Washington 2 as a low-owned play against the Sharks because their 5v5 numbers are reasonable. But in this matchup, there's just no way that line does anything against Danault. So yeah, if Washington pops off and costs me the slate tonight, I'll eat my words tomorrow. But I honestly don't think I'm going to play them at all. There's just no reason to. They're not good at 5v5. They're not good at the power play. They don't draw any penalties. The Kings don't take. There's just nothing to like. Maybe if Phoenix Copley got the start, he's even been better lately. But if Copley got the start, I'd be like maybe. With Talbot in the pipes, what's the point? Defensemen tonight. Let's take a look. Provorov at 4,300. Yeah, I love it. I love the Blue Jackets tonight. He's just a minute eating machine. 4,300 is way too cheap. He's going to block a shitload of shots. He's going to take a bunch of shots. Fine. Mike Matheson at 7K is insane. I don't think when you've got Mike Matheson at 7,000 and Adam Fox at 5,200. I mean, what are we even doing? Fox obviously at 5,200, probably going to be the highest owned defenseman on the slate. That price is outrageous. Sometimes I have to double check that I'm even using DraftKings pricing because that doesn't even make sense. Rowensky at 5,300 is a strong play as well. Gustafson, not anymore. Gostisbehere at 4,800 is fine. How much do you weigh pace into lineup building? And building higher pace games means more shots, which has more high danger chances, more chance of goals, right? So pace is based solely on Corsi, which is shot attempts. So it doesn't necessarily mean more high danger chances. Some teams are just better at firing the puck on the net than they are towards the net than they are generating high danger chances. So it doesn't necessarily. I don't weigh it in a ton. Obviously, in a tiebreaker situation, the two Corsi 4 difference between New York and LA tonight is it's nothing, right? It's 2 shot attempts for the whole game. It means nothing. Do I think this Blue Jackets game is going to be slightly higher event? Yes. More or less pace is fine. Obviously, you want high event games. I do factor it in. For goalies, I certainly factored in as well, right? You're expecting maybe a few more shots on Merzlikins than Shesterkin tonight, type of thing. Same with Talbot. So those are kind of what I use pace for to try to tiebreaker factors and stuff like that. Yeah, Gostisbehere at 48 looks like a solid play. Don't mind Keandre Miller at 3,400. He's been pretty solid. Jake Bean is solid as well. 2,600 if you need to go dumpster diving. Juracek's even not terrible. It doesn't play a ton. 15 minutes isn't great, but minimum price could be fine. Boquist is starting to play more. He's okay. It's great how you explain everything for us. Still learning. Thank you. You're absolutely welcome, Timothy. That's what I'm here for. Yeah. Who's our shot blocking gods of the night? It's my new favorite part of the show. Jacob Trouba, 6K. Ha! Yeah, he is. He's always been good against the Red Wings, too. Good Michigan boy. Would you take Trocheck or Laugh? If I had to pick, I would take Trocheck. Obviously, the price difference is crazy. Like, Trocheck's obviously the better play because the price, price didn't matter. But yeah. Have you ever showed your DK lines the next day, kind of like the stochastic guys do? Haven't. I could. If that's something people would be interested in, I certainly could. Like a lineup breakdown. I just always think that the show runs long as it is, and I don't want to take up too much of your time if people don't care about what I did last night. But yeah, I mean, if people are interested in seeing the lineups, yeah, I would be happy to show at least my single entry lineups or whatever, if that would be of interest of anybody. Provorov at 4,300, already talked about him. Yeah. Goalies, it's pretty obvious to me tonight. Merzlikins after 79 looks like my favorite play. Shesterkin's great. Talbot's great. Eating a lot of chalk tonight. Going to try to get different. Leave money on the table is one way to get different. Play a puntier defenseman, something like that. Because I think I'm a little bit on the chalky side tonight, but I think the chalk is due to smash this evening. I think I mentioned a couple lines that are probably going to be slightly less chalky than like the top lines. LA2, for example, I think is going to be a little bit lower owned. I'm seeing about 11% on Kopitar, 8% on, 15% on Kopitar, 8% on Dano, something like that. So, would you play third or fourth lines due to the small slate? I think like you could. It's possible to, like, if you're building 20 lineups, sure, but if you're playing one line, like, what's the point? Fox returns tonight. Yeah, he does. He's back. Trevor Moore points with Boone Jenner goal as a parlay, I'm assuming. A betting parlay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Boone Jenner's been hot. That line looks solid tonight. Boone Jenner goal, Trevor Moore point. Parlay. I can get behind it. Trevor Moore's been on fire. I like that parlay. That's actually a good one. So yeah, these three goalies up top, the expensive goalies certainly look solid. If I had to pick of the cheaper goalies, Montembeault obviously faces the worst of the three other offenses as an underdog. Also projected to see the most shots and saves. So I think Montembeault is probably the best of the cheap options. After that, it would have to be Ville Husso for me at 7,100 if you're fading the Rangers and need some salary relief. But anyways, that is going to do it for this edition of the DFO DFS report. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. The show is growing day in and day out. Every day we're seeing more and more viewers. I mean, this is, I think, the most viewers of the season, and it's a 3-game slate, which usually are much smaller. So absolutely love the growth. Has a lot to do with you guys. Smash that like button. So please do that. Not a daily question, but would you dump Vanacek for either Ingram or Wool after last night? Definitely Wool. I would definitely dump him for Wool. I don't know so much about Ingram. Like, I love Ingram. Is he going to be able to maintain this consistently night in and night out? I have a little bit more hesitation there. But yeah, like, I think Vanacek's probably the third best goalie on that list right now. He's playing really poorly. So, but yeah, I would pick up Wool over Vanacek and Ingram at the moment. Trying to fit LA1 and New York 2, but need cheap defensemen. Jake Bean. Thank you for this content. You are welcome. Jordan Spence is a good cheap D option. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Is there a chat for this group like Discord? There used to be. I've tinkered with the idea of firing up a Discord chat for our channel for the viewers. If that's something you're interested in, it's certainly something we could do. I have absolutely zero expertise with Discord, so if anybody wants to help me out and be a mod, please reach out to me on Twitter, because yeah, I'd be happy to put together a Discord and have everybody chat about their lineups and whatever. We used to have one and it was great, but I had a bunch of mods help me out. So if we've got anybody at Brock_Seguin on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, reach out to me if you have Discord expertise and want to help me set something like that up. I would be happy to do it. So yeah, smash a like button. And yeah, hopefully you return with more money in your bankroll to more than you had tonight. Good luck. My hat trick pick for this evening is going to be on Adrian Kempe. Cheers. Smash the like button. Drop your hat trick picks in the comment section below the video. Until next time.